And so, man, I'm so happy to hear that. Like, I kind of want to rewind though, right? I want to know, right? How did you get to the point to where you decided, you know what, I want to go into law and do it differently, right? Did you always want to be a lawyer? Was that something that was on the docket from when you were born? Kind of, flesh that out for us. Of what was the process when you were a teenager growing up, until you going into law?
Uh, it definitely was a process. As you know, I grew up in a community where everybody around me is a doctor, a nurse, or some sort of health professional. Like the hospital is the tallest, biggest building in my community, and everybody is expected to be a doctor, nurse, or something like that. And unfortunately, I came from grandparents who were doctors, uncles, doctors, mom, dietitian. So there's like all this pressure of, okay, well, when you graduate, you will go to medical school and be a doctor. And I just deep down didn't feel like that was me. I wanted something to have a certain level of creativity. I like advocacy, argumentation, not being argumentative, but analyzing things and being persuasive and being influential in a sense. So I like that about the law. Went to law school at Pepperdine in Malibu, which is a Christian law school. And when I was there, Ken Starr, the guy of the Starr Report who investigated Bill Clinton, he was the dean of the school at the time. And he is definitely a Christian and was so not persuasive, influential, I think, in helping me understand that it's okay to be a Christian and a lawyer, and not let your Christianity suffer. He at the time, for example, was representing someone who was on death row. And people are like, how can you do this? Ken, we thought you were conservative, and how are you representing someone who's supposed to, be put to the death? And he did a presentation for us students talking about how, he feels called as from the Bible to take care of the least of these and to ensure justice. And just the way he was so heartfelt, like, I am fulfilling my calling here, really inspired me. And so I go on to represent shareholders of public companies, holding like CEOs, directors accountable for like fraud, major scandals, like things you would see in the Wall Street Journal, and try to, fix the company and make that not happen again. But it's really hard when you're an outsider trying to bring these changes. So I'm like, I want to work with the people on the inside. I want to work with the business people as they're growing their businesses. And then, so when I transitioned from that law firm where I was doing that work to being on my own, my wife and I started filming a documentary actually on mental health. And why that happened, I mean, God says do mental health. It seems so random, but that was one of the best things that ever happened. Because then I began to really understand how blessed I was growing up in a church community. I mean, almost all my friends, their parents were married. Divorce was a very rare thing. Everybody was so loving. My parents are loving. My friends' parents are loving. Church members are loving. There's just love all around. And working on this documentary, I come to realize there's this whole other world where people are born with parents with major problems. And not saying that the parents necessarily have fault, but maybe the parents' parents had issues, so they were neglected. They didn't have their emotional needs met. They don't know how to be good parents. And this just leads to generation after generation of mental health issues. And just learning how people could be so fragile and broken in so many ways really made me rethink again, like, we really need to be more caring, more kind, more understanding. And on top of that, learning what seems to be usually the number one solution, one of the best things in helping people get healed. It's not like necessarily one therapy is better than another. It was the quality of the relationship between therapists that had the most correlation to people getting healing. And so I realized it all comes back to relationships. So relationships really are everything. And when relationships are damaged, relationships are broken, that's when a lot of us see our mental health issues.
Wow. That's so powerful. That's so true. Thanks for watching the Lion and Lambo podcast. We hope this clip has been a huge blessing to you. And we want to remind you that we drop new videos, new podcast episodes every Sunday at 9 o'clock. You can find the full episode by clicking the card up at the top right of this video. If you prefer an audio only experience, then we want to let you know that we're streaming through every major podcast streaming platform. For the full list, you can go to www.lionandthelambo.com. Until next time, go impact the world.